Hi everyone, so the PTR update is finally live. It has been 1 week of testing so far, and we just got the updated patch notes and the patch deployed on the PTR that I have promptly tried out myself. So there have been a lot of buffs to ethereal weapons. Yes, they were not good enough apparently, and some of them are actually pretty crazy now. I'm gonna show you in a second. And there have also been some changes to the inner monk and the wave of light monk. It turns out the wave of light monk is not really gonna make it, so maybe there will be some more adjustments to it, but for now it was really hammered as we have thought it might happen, and it is not terrible, so it's still actually better than on a live servers, but it's not really good enough to produce any kind of form and meta, that's for sure. For the inner monk, they have fixed a few bugs, mostly the fire ally and the earth ally not working with some multipliers like attack speed multipliers, and I think enforcer didn't work. There are still some missing multipliers actually, so it's not 100% fixed. Area damage, one of the biggest ones, actually doesn't work, and Inner is actually performing quite well now, even though they changed the Crudest Boots to only 200% bonus, and also the Bindings of the Lesser Gods to 200% bonus, both of which were 400% damage bonus before that. Because on top of this, they also buffed the 6-piece bonus from 950 to 3000% extra damage per Mystic Ally. So a quite significant boost to the Inner's damage, and we can see some pretty decent clears here already. So I've done 130 with a few different setups actually, and this clear was done in the end with 9 minutes in kind of decent rift, but nothing crazy. And I did this without Shenlongs, using the ethereal weapon that was also adjusted. On non-season we can see some high clears as well, 145 I see here, 146 as well. So there are definitely really high clears possible with this, even off season, because there's actually not a big difference between season and season here. The gain from the ethereals is quite small because Shenlongs are extremely powerful, and the difference between the two setups is very minor. We're talking about maybe a tier or something like that. I just did a few runs with this with each of the setups, but it was not super conclusive what will be played in the end. I will show you more about Inners in a separate video because I want to go more into detail there, and it is quite late after my stream, so you're gonna see that tomorrow. But here are the ethereal item updates, and some of them are completely crazy. So essentially they buffed all those ethereal weapons that didn't have much of a purpose, that were not really super great to begin with, or when there was, for example, Crusader with 3 one-handed weapons, or the Monk with 3 one-handed weapons, where one was simply way superior to the others. So that's exactly what happens. So they gave some of those items extra affixes. For example, Carling's Will has become some kind of speed farming weapon now with the steed charge duration. The Asterion's Iron Ward got extra damage, which will be quite nice. And there's one really big improvement here on the Demon Hunter, which is the Breezer Dokianon, which has hits against frozen enemies are always critical hits. So apparently, I haven't tested this yet, this only works with your own freezes to get the bonus, so the Z Necro or something like that will probably not be a thing. And even if it works with other people's freezes, you'll probably just run the regular God form and speed meta with a ZDH during the phrases, because that's also easily possible with Natalia 2-piece. But in general, this is actually a pretty decent buff to a weapon that was already one of the strongest ethereals in the game. So that's actually very interesting, and it puts God DH another 1 or 2 tiers higher for pushing and especially for farming, where you can apply these freeze effects and get straight up like almost double damage on some targets when they're frozen. So very interesting stuff. I'll definitely check this out more in detail, but there are Demon Hunters running 120 plus solo speedruns in 3 minutes or so, and I believe this is gonna be quite competitive with the Firebird Wizard next season. Also, in the question of Rats versus God DH and also versus Firebirds, it seems like God DH has caught up even more, and Rats has fallen behind a bit because they nerfed the strongest weapon on a Necromancer, which is the Soul Harvest. That was a scythe with double crit and 50 essence, so they nerfed the essence a little bit. They removed one of the crit stats, so that was actually the only nerf here, and it's gonna make the rat runs maybe a tier or 1.5 weaker. There were some other cool adjustments. For example, Wind Force got like the Yanks recurve treatment, so it also has discipline now, it also has resource cost reduction now. This is gonna be very nice because now you can actually use a weapon and it feels similarly to what it does now, but it's going to be way more powerful. And we'll see about Cluster Arrow if you're going to use Windforce or Bruiser. I could actually imagine you're going to go with Bruiser because of this strong freeze effect. Witch Doctor got a pretty interesting change. So they changed all 3 Witch Doctor weapons to have higher value, but only for certain skills. So essentially there's like 1 Jade Harvester weapon now, then there's 1 for Gargantuans and Fetish Army, and then there's 1 for Spirit Barrage and some kind of stuff like Acid Cloud and Wall of Death. So overall this will buff Spirit Barrage quite a bit, probably to S tier level again. Spirit Barrage will be quite good here. There is a bug, I believe it's a bug with the Voodoo skills, and that is that this 200% bonus doesn't actually count for Fetish Sycophants for the Zunimasa. So Zunimasa, I was just talked about a bit in the last video, was shaping out to be extremely strong, but you have to use a different weapon now, which is plus minus probably the same, but this 200% damage bonus only applies to your Fetish Army fetishes and not to the automatically summoned fetishes. So I believe this will probably be fixed. The damage overall for Zunimasa will probably do the same, but you give up even more of your toughness and it's already a full glass cannon build, so that will probably not end very well if it goes live. In any case, quite interesting stuff. So there is definitely some interesting builds possible on the Witch Doctor now, and I will also talk more about those at another point. And some of the Wizard one-handers got buffed. Oculus has a nice damage reduction affix now, so this was kind of like the go-to weapon for most Wizard builds here. That looks like this now, which has nice cane power and crit, nice elite damage cooldown, so a little bit of something for everything. And then there's also Wizard Spike, which has 100% stacking damage buff. The same effect that also the Monk weapon got here. And this effect is actually what makes it good enough to be used on some of those builds that previously didn't really want certain Ethereals or Ethereals at all, like the Innas Monk. So this was quite quick, but I'm gonna go into the details of the Ethereals, the Innas updates, and also a lot of Witch Doctor stuff at some point in other videos. But this is what I have to share for now. Definitely very exciting updates to those Ethereal weapons, and I think a really cool move from Blizzard to kind of thoughtfully try to give all of them some kind of special effect that makes them worthwhile to use. And it seems like most Ethereals, or pretty much any Ethereal, has a pretty strong identity and some purpose at least. The Inner Monk is definitely very exciting, and I'm quite looking forward to playing this when the season comes around. So let's see what they will do exactly with it. I believe they will probably fix the area damage and then maybe slightly tune down the numbers again. But in either case, it's looking quite strong right now. So hope you enjoyed this little video, and see you guys next time.